everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is NC. I'm a freelancer and a freelancing coach. If you are interested in freelancing, working from the comfort of your home or from anywhere and earning some cool dollars while at it, this is a channel for you. If you're yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button right now, like and share. Hi, all right, today I want to talk about some top mistakes that I made as a new freelancer. Or for those of you that already kind of know my story, and I think I have a video, a very old video on my page about how I ventured into freelancing. You would know that I ventured into freelancing with desperation, right? So I was in that place where my business had failed and I had a little boy and was pregnant at the time. So I was desperate. I was desperate in need of something to do to keep my mind, my hands busy. And of course, to stop asking for urgent 2K from my husband. All right. So I was in that place where I was very desperate and I ventured into freelancing desperate. And you know, one thing about desperation is it's, you make a lot of mistakes, right? You jump on things, you just make irrational decisions. So today I want to share and throw some light on some mistakes I made as a new freelancer that if I were to turn back the hands of time, you know, I would do most things differently, obviously. All right. So if you're listening to this video and, or if you're watching this video and you're new or you are an aspiring freelancer, trust me, I wish someone, I kind of ran into a video like this in my early days. Now, the first one is, all right, the very first mistake I can think of right now was I was super confused of what area, all right, we call it niche, to focus on. All right, so I went through a training in my early days, and it was more focused on virtual assisting, you know, customer support and all that. So of course I started off as a virtual assistant. I am still a virtual assistant, by the way. All right, and then I went into the popular LinkedIn. And one thing about LinkedIn you should know is that LinkedIn has a way of getting you in that place where you're trying to self-discover, you know, everyone is doing something trendy, everyone is, and I remember clearly that I started off, my first job anyways, wasn't even virtual assistant, it was telemarketing. All right, so I started with telemarketing job, which to be very honest, I did not like. All right, I'm not a person that would love to stay on a call over speaking with strangers for a long period of time, right? And I was just up for any job, right? So I was in that place where I know most of you listening to me right now, that's where you are, where any job, just give me data entry, give me, I did proofreading, I was doing a lot of things, all right? And one thing that it did was my profile was speaking or was screaming confusion. And it kind of delayed my growth to a very, I won't say to a very large extent, but it did. All right. So I remember attending an Airbnb training. I remember even started coding at some point. I was super confused. And one thing about confusion is it's just like when you plant a seed and the seed is just coming out, then you carry it to move to one place and then you carry it again. After a while, your tree become very stunted. All right. That was what happened. All right. So what do I advise you as an aspiring or a new freelancer to do? Find one niche and stay there. Now, that does not mean that you can't transition. That does not mean that you can't become something else in the future. But what that means is that it allows you to upskill. Now, if you're focusing on customer support, right, you notice and you're laser focused. You focus more on growing your courses, your certifications, the training that you are attending are streamlined to that particular niche. And another very important thing that this is going to do for your profile, if you're an Upwork, for instance, like myself, is that your profile begins to rank. All right, by the time you get your first job is a virtual assistant job, the second job the same, the third job is the same. You notice that when Upwork is trying to match or is trying to rank freelancers, you start ranking higher. All right, you see things like, oh, this person have done 4 jobs in this area. All right, person have done 5 jobs in this area. Whereas if another freelancer has done, say, 20 jobs, but they are still not ranking in any niche. Why? Because out of the 20 jobs that they've done, 2 is virtual assisting, 2 is customer support, 2 is that, like, different things. All right. Yeah, you are growing, but you're not growing. Does that make sense? All right. So I believe strongly that as you grow as a freelancer, and if you're niching down, it gets to a point where it becomes easier for you to get job in that niche. All right, you become what I call an authority in the niche. Why? If I look at your profile as a client, a prospective client, I'm seeing that you've done 10 jobs, all focused on this area that I'm looking to hire. And out of those 10 jobs, say none of them are 5-star rating, and the reviews are amazing. So I feel that this is an expert virtual assistant, for instance, or this is an expert social media manager. All right. So you are focused. So me, I was not in my early days, to be very honest, right? I did proofreading, I did telemarketing, I did customer support, I did virtual assisting. But when I came to this realization, I had to ask myself and see, do you really want to go into web development? Do you really want to go into data analysis, right? These things are looking like it's trendy. Everyone's trying to become a code cis, a tech cis, but this was not my niche, all right? Maybe in the future, maybe sometime in the future, right? But right now, I loved administration, all right? And even in virtual assisting, for instance, there are different niches. So you see Airbnb virtual assistants, right? I'm an executive virtual assistant. So I started focusing more on taking certifications, courses on that niche, right? So yeah, find one thing, one area that you like or that you love, right? And focus. Emphasis on focus.